It's about 4:10 in the afternoon. I am in my Star Wars Old Republic t-shirt. I think that's what it says on the back. And I'm going to see how quickly I can make a double batch of plum and blueberry pie filling. This is everything that we're going to need. We're going to need to have a pot to cook the filling in. We're going to need to have a small simmering pan to warm up the lids. We're going to need a big pot full of boiling water to process the jars. We're going to need jars and lids to match, cups for those. We're going to need, of course, sugar, fruit. I'm using clear gel for my pie filling. We're going to need some lemon juice. I'm going to spice it up with a little bit of ginger because I find ginger and plum makes a really good combo. Other things you're going to need a cup measure, tablespoon measure. You might want to have some tongs. Hey, guess what? I finally found my magnetic picker-upper, so that's going to be nice when we come to that part. You're going to want to have some jar picking up tongs, something to stir your pot with. I'm just going to go straight with the ladle. I like having one of these funnels for the can. When it comes to the fruit, this is another it came from the freezer moment because my neighbor's plum tree is about ready to pick. I can see the ornamental plums around town are starting to drop their fruit, and her Italian plum is starting to turn purple. Well, these are some plums of hers that I got last year. So it's time for them to have something done to them. So I defrosted them, pulled them out of the freezer, and drained off the extra liquid, and that's some of what's in there. Then, because I find plum is a little bit of a weird flavor for some people if they're not used to it, if I combine it with blackberry or blueberry or maybe a mixed berry like raspberries, blackberries, and blueberries, that's a more understandable flavor for people. So I've just combined the blueberry juice, the plum juice, and everything all together. We're going to use that for our liquid. So instead of measuring water, we're going to use juice from these fruits. It's going to come to a little bit more than 8 cups. It's going to be about 9 cups, which is why I've got 6 jars, and I'll have probably some from my refrigerator as well. So let's get started in measuring this stuff out. I did not do a very good job explaining in the original video how I scaled this recipe. So I'll walk you through it now. The original recipe calls for about 3 cups of fruit, 3/4 cup sugar, 1/4 cup of clear gel, 1 cup of water, and 3 teaspoons of lemon juice. Now, the easiest way I find to convert things is getting things to some sort of 1-to-1 kind of scale. So for 1 cup of fruit, you need 1/4 cup sugar, 1/12 cup or 4 teaspoons of clear gel, 1/3 cup of a liquid. I used the drainings from the frozen plums and blueberries, and 1 teaspoon of bottled lemon juice. Okay, so if I were scaling this up, it would have been easiest had I just had 9 cups, because we were dealing with 3 cups and 3/4 cups and 3 teaspoons in the original, and it would just have been easy to just triple it. But I had 10 cups. So by taking it down to the 1 cup of fruit to all the other portions, that's how I came up with this recipe. So this had 10 cups of fruit, 2.5 cups sugar, 5/6 or basically 1 cup of clear gel, 3 1/3 cup liquid, and 10 teaspoons, which comes to about 3.5 tablespoons of lemon juice. Now, there are 3 teaspoons to a tablespoon, and a tablespoon is equal to 1/16 of a cup. That's right, 1/16, so a half of an eighth. Yeah. For any of you working in the metric system, you guys have it so So easy. Everything's in nice decimals. You don't have weird conversions of 3 teaspoons to a tablespoon, which is 1/16 of a cup, which is 8 ounces, and a pint is 16 ounces. You don't have to worry about the weirdness of that. Now this recipe, that it's a little bit more than triple the original, was just enough to fill 4 quart-sized jars plus a little 8-ounce cup. So yeah, then we get into quarts, pints, cups. Oh, it would be so nice if we could switch to metric when it comes to scaling these things. But now I've walked you guys through how you can take a recipe, change it so that one element is a single cup, and then you convert everything else down so that whatever your main ingredient is, whether it's fruit or whether you're working with some sort of pickling or something like that, it can scale. Whenever you're canning, you can scale these things. You just need to do a bunch of math with fractions. So any of you who were looking at your elementary to middle school teacher going, I don't see why I should have to memorize what fractions are wished decimals and things like that, well, welcome to middle school math. Because, yep, this is where you need it. In your kitchen. For the rest of your life. Okay, listen to this. Hear how it's kind of bubbling like hot lava? That's what we're looking for. I don't keep stirring this. It'll scald to the bottom. And if you saw my apple pie video, then something scalds to the bottom. You've got a brief window where you can disguise it with brown sugar and rum. But then it's all over. So I'm turning off the burner now. It's time to pack our jars with blueberry lava. All right, see how that gel is really thickened up? It's very similar to if you buy a can of blueberry pie filling. You've got that texture, but instead of the cheap blueberry pie fillings, this is mostly fruit with a little bit of gel instead of a lot of gel and a little bit of fruit. Oh, and I left my funnel in the simmering water. Okay, here we go. Some things I forgot to mention. Always follow the recipe as best as you can. I don't blanch my frozen fruit because it would really fall apart in the boiling water. But if you're getting fresh fruit, try to blanch it. They recommend that you blanch it in small batches, 1 minute in the boiling water each. Pull it out, keep it to the side, hot and covered, and then make your clear gel using your juice or your water, and then add the fruit back into it. I don't do that. I cook the fruit and the clear gel all at once. So that's one variation I have going on. But I always put in my lemon juice and my flavoring towards the end of that cooking. So first it's the fruit and the sugar and the clear gel, making sure that the clear gel isn't any clumps. Incorporate that, make sure it's getting to a simmer, and then add in the lemon juice and whatever flavoring you want to do, whether it's vanilla or ginger in this case, if you're putting in some dry spices, so that those don't cook too long. Another tip is have blue or at least dark colored towels, because blueberries and plums dye stuff colors, and you're probably going to have to get out the OxyClean after you've done some blueberry, blackberry, or plum preserves. One. This is a strong magnet. 2. 3, and 4. Okay. Now, I'm at 1,000 feet elevation, so I have to put these into the boil for 35 minutes. If you're at sea level, you only have to do it for 30 minutes. If you're higher up, for every 1,000 feet elevation you gain, you add another 5 minutes. And if you're out in outer space, A, where are you getting your fruit from? And B, why didn't you just let NASA, can it for you? Okay. When you put these rings on, it's just barely on because you need the steam to be able to escape. If you crank these down too tight, or if it gets clogged with a bunch of goo from the inside and the steam can't escape, you'll have a jar bust inside the boiling pot. So it's definitely at a rolling boil. I think I can actually bring that down a couple notches. Something I like to do is, just in case I don't have enough water to cover my jars, I like to set myself up with a coffee pot that has boiling water in it, so that this will come back up to a boil ASAP. Yeah, looks like these guys could use just a little bit more water. Ooh, that's about the maximum that this pot can handle. So we're going to keep that up at the boil, 35 minutes. Set your timer. Time to clean up and deal with these Scooby snacks. Now you're going to want to leave the kitchen in the next 30, 35, 40 minutes, whatever you're having to do for finishing up the canning process, but don't leave the kitchen. Don't do it, not when you've got a burner going. Besides, you've got all this wonderful steam that's steaming up the fronts of your cabinets. It's a great time to clean them up. Plus, you've just been working with some very stainful fruits, so you might want to do a really good, strong cleanup to try and get rid of any stains. I know I'm going to definitely have to do a little bit of work on my butcher block because I've got some little blueberry ghosts. And while we're watching me cleaning up the kitchen, you're trapped. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story while I clean up. When I was in college, was my first time actually making plum pies. During summer quarter, they would have a dormitory where you were not allowed to have a toaster and a microwave. You could only choose one, and I chose a toaster oven. And there are these little tiny Pyrex pans that fit just inside. And all over my college, they had the ornamental plums, the ones with the red leaves and the tiny, tiny little fruit that's only as big as a cherry and is mostly clingstone. Red leaf plums get these lovely fruits, only about as big as a cherry, but they are really good. Well, I would pick a bunch of those and chop them up and add in a bit of sugar and do a oatmeal and butter crumble topping with instant oatmeal and bake it and bring it to friends' picnics and potlucks and things like that. And they were all totally amazed that I had made pie out of free fruit that was just hanging everywhere. But some people thought that the flavor was weird because they were not used to eating plums. So I found that if I just added a little bit of fresh blackberries once blackberries came in, or if I just added in some blueberries, that made the flavor work out right. So if you have a free fruit that you're getting and the flavor isn't what people are expecting, such as the apricots that I canned before, you can always mix that in with something that they are expecting, like peaches. Apricots and peaches go really well together. Plums with blackberries or blueberries go really well together. Rhubarb
often is paired with strawberries, but doesn't have to be. You can pair it with cherries or raspberries. Apples go really well with cranberries, to be honest. So if you end up with a whole bunch of cranberries, you know what to do. Well, just toss them into a cranberry apple pie. That works out. Pie is a great place to experiment with random, foraged, scavenged, or ugly fruit because you're chopping it up, you're covering it with some sort of crust, and often dolloping ice cream or some sort of topping on top. So you can disguise a number of experiments and sins in a pie. Now, when I pulled these jars out, instantly one of the jar buttons on top sucked a vacuum and made its popping sound. And then I just had to wait for the other three. And then it was done.
There it is. Blueberry plum jam. That's the extra. Those are my 4 jars. And it is 5:15, so 1 hour and 5 minutes. That's what it took.
Little Jack Horner sat in a corner, eating his Christmas pie. He put in his thumb and pulled out a plum and said,
"What a good boy am I?"